You know, folks, when it comes to the comings and goings at the Trump White House, there are so many goings that sometimes we forget to look at the comings. Like the recent hire of White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications and Santa Claus after he was on Queer Eye, Bill Shine. Now, before working at the White House, Bill Shine was president of Fox News, where he resigned amid the Roger Ailes harassment scandal after he was named in lawsuits for not taking action and trying to cover up allegations of sexual harassment. I'm sure that was a quick interview with the White House. It says here in your resume that you know Microsoft Excel and you enabled the sexual deviances of a dirty old meatbag? Okay. Welcome aboard. When one female Fox contributor tried to talk to Shine about the sexual abuse at Fox News, he seemed more interested in talking about the Eagles, telling her she should watch a Showtime documentary about the rock band because their story was very similar to the story of Fox News. You don't know why they're so influential and only old white people listen? Yeah, it checks out. In fact, Shine was so toxic after leaving Fox News that he was considered untouchable by many other prospective employers. You're not really Quiznos material. Have you tried the White House? And inside the White House, Shine's hiring has been seen as a way to push out Chief of Staff John Kelly. One official said, they've basically stopped telling Kelly when meetings are. People leave him off the calendar. When he finds out, he storms into the room as like, what's going on? To be fair, what's going on is what people say in every meeting with Donald Trump. One Republican, close to the White House, said that Trump is hoping Kelly will quit, and that Trump is too chicken to fire Kelly himself, and that this plan is reminiscent of when he hired Anthony Scaramucci to drive out then Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, saying this is a more subtle version of Scaramucci. I'm going to say that I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to go on a limb here and say that everything is a more subtle version of Scaramucci, including the cast of Jersey Shore, Joe Pesci and Goodfellas, and the phrase, hey, not for nothing, can I get some gabagool, wrap some mozzarella over here? And Trump couldn't be happier with Shine, especially the way he handled Monday night's rollout of the Supreme Court pick. One source told Vanity Fair that Shine brought in all new lights. He gave Trump what's called downlight. Trump's a little fat, but that made him look younger. Although, if he really wants a communications director to make him look younger, he should choose whoever designed this balloon. Yeah, that guy's skin is taut. He looks good. Hands are a little big. Of course, as an expert in communication, Bill Shine made sure there was nothing in his or his family's past that would cause any negative PR, is what I would have said before Trump became president, because it quickly came out that Bill Shine's wife, Darla, used her Twitter account to complain that she couldn't use the N-word and to spread conspiracy theories about, quote, blacks. I am shocked those kind of tweets came from the wife of the president's communications director and not from the president himself. For example, when Trump got in trouble for calling Africa a collection of whole countries, remember that?
Yeah.
Were we ever so young? Darla Shine tweeted this racist meme, Rome 2,000 years ago, Africa now. Wow. I've got a response. Racists 100 years ago, racist now. Darla seemed obsessed with one topic in particular, tweeting, take the N-word out of the music. Don't want to feel guilty for singing songs with the N-word in it, and don't use the N-word if you don't want your teenage listeners to repeat it out loud. And funny how critics calling to ban the Jefferson Memorial, but no talk of banning rap songs with N-word in it. And I have never said the N-word out loud, and my white children never have either. Black, stop using the N-word. Wow. That lady really wants to use the N-word.
Oh, yeah.
Now, one assumes. Now, Darla has deleted her Twitter account since her husband was hired at the White House, but it wasn't just on Twitter. On her Facebook page, Darla wrote, "It seems to be more in style to be transgender than not. Man-made vagina is still not as good as the real thing." I never thought I'd say this, but I long to go back to talking about the N-word. So in conclusion, Donald Trump just hired a man who had to resign in shame from his last job for aiding a sexual abuser and who's married to a bigot who's weirdly obsessed with racial slurs and vaginas. They'll fit right in. We'll be right back with Dwayne Johnson.